Now I have a few random gotchas to talk about, and this one's pretty embarrassing. This has happened to me a couple of times, and it's a really stupid mistake. So you can laugh at me. Hopefully, you're smarter than I am, and you wouldn't make a mistake like this. It involves dates, but kind of more broadly than that, it involves indeterminacy. So the thing about new date, this function does not return the same thing every time you call it. Obviously, it's going to return a different date tomorrow than it will return today. It'll actually return something different, a second from now than it will return right now. Another example would be math.random. I think you, or at least I, am less likely to make a mistake with math.random because just the name random clues me into the fact that it's got indeterminacy going on. So, and by the way, indeterminacy is one of the reasons why we don't in unit tests test things like fetching, because we don't really know what we're going to get back from an endpoint. Um, Now here's let me show you what goes on with dates. So here I've just extracted that store creation into a function called getStore, which I just did so that we would have a unit that we could test. Okay, so down here I'm testing this in a really stupid way. Well, first of all, right here, this is a mistake right here. ToString should be a function call, not a function. So this should have open close parentheses next to it. Let's ignore that. So I've actually done two stupid things at least, but let's ignore that stupid thing. Pretend that works. And let's look at the fact that I am testing the date returned against a very specific date. Now this happened to be the date that it was when I created this function right here. So on that day, this test, assuming it didn't have this bug in it right here, on that day, this test would pass. And I would think it was fine. The next day, a week later, whatever, if I ran it again without changing any of my code at all, that test would fail because, of course, it would not be March 16th anymore. Why did I make such a stupid mistake? Well, I'll tell you why I made it. It's because I actually did something even more stupid. I wrote this test after I wrote the code. No, I'm not going to tell you that's stupid. There are varying philosophies around that. If you do test-driven development, you will always write your tests first. But I'm not telling you to necessarily do that. But what I did was I wrote the code first. I ran this function, and I took a look at the output, and I just eyeballed it. It was March 16th, so I said, yep, that is correct. And then I copied it. I copied what I knew to be correct and pasted it into the unit test, thinking in my mind, well, I know this happens to be correct, so if it has a correct value in the test will always be a good test. And of course, that was extremely foolish because it was not correct. Actually, it was not correct just a minute later. Okay, so I know you will never make a mistake that stupid, but just FYI or note to self or whatever, be careful when working with dates.